Hello, everyone, and welcome to our February webinar. I'm Denise, your host, and back with me this month is Olena, our sensational solutions architect, who has been working on some really cool stuff. And, well, I know that's why you're all here today, so let's get some very quick housekeeping out of the way. We also have an encore email, and as soon as the replay of this session is available, within about a week, I will follow up with our encore email, and it will include a link to the replay, all of today's questions, and their answers. And finally, again, I'm just going to move forward here. Our webinar demos typically highlight basic capabilities, but our team is always happy to meet with your organization one-on-one, during which you can explore configuration options and such that would address any specific business needs or nuances that your company might have. With that being said, Olena, if you are ready.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's webinar. Today, we would like to show how you can visualize your production schedule. But first, a couple of words about why you might need to visualize it and how you can benefit from data visualization in other areas. Nowadays, we use all kinds of information processing systems. They vary in size and complexity. They could be as simple as calendar on your phone that reminds about upcoming appointments and important events, or activity tracker that shows how much we slept and stayed active during the day. It could be more complex, for example, QAD system that collects and processes information about daily business activities, or big data analytics systems that deal with large and varying data sets to uncover hidden patterns and complex trends. But regardless of the complexity of all those systems, it will all come down to the main one, which is our brain. Our brain is a complicated system that has various information processing mechanisms. Vision is one of the extremely powerful ones. Your brain processes a lot of details that come through your vision, but it also has a built-in attention filter that decides how important is the signal it receives. Receiving information in a pictorial or graphical format often makes it easier to grasp important patterns or understand difficult concepts. It becomes easier to understand tables when they are represented by pie charts, lines, and bar graphs. Therefore, data visualization became a staple of modern business intelligence systems. Today, I would like to show how you can apply data visualization to production schedule details in QAD. I will use as an example 32Soft production planning data loader and show some of the visualization techniques we incorporated into it. Let's first download from QAD our production schedule. I can use Excel capabilities, for example, filters, to analyze my schedule, check due dates, runtime required, go through MRP action messages. I can modify existing work orders and upload them into QAD directly from Excel, or create new ones. But placing this table in a visual context will give me a totally different view of my production schedule. Let's see. Now I can see the same table, but in the graphical format. I can see how long my orders will run to produce required quantity, when do I need to start them to meet due dates, how busy my production lines are, and I can spot potential conflicts. The layout gives me an idea where I can place additional orders. I can also incorporate into this view my production constraints. For example, I may have one piece of equipment that is shared between production lines, and I need to see how it affects my schedule. Let's see how production schedule will look with constraints in place. Let me go back to download, and I can see that there are some orders that require the same tool, but it's not easy to identify potential conflicts from the table format, especially if I would have hundreds of orders. In contrast, by looking at the graph, I can immediately see that I have orders that require the same tool at the same time, but on the different production lines. And I need to make changes to my schedule to make sure that both orders can run. Sometimes data visualization requires a trade-in between the ability to modify data source efficiently and making the visual presentation more accessible. In this example, we have avoided this kind of trade-in because I can modify my production schedule if necessary directly from the graph. So I will take this order that has conflict and we'll put it here. I will hold just to the schedule and we'll see, redraw the schedule again. Because I made the changes, I need to get refreshed. So I still have all my constraints in place. Now I will regenerate the schedule. And now I see that although items at different production lines use the same tool, they are scheduled in time, so there is no conflict. With data visualization, we can also identify when production setup time is required. For example, my parts might use different paint color, and I need to swap the paint tanks between the work orders, or I might need to readjust the equipment when switching between different manufactured items. I need to add this instruction to my schedule for the production team to plan their time accordingly. These setup instructions or work orders may come up to the schedule graph automatically, as they just did, based on the data I already have in QAD, or I can add them manually. So I can go here, add setup, and let's say, think that I don't need setup here. And I can update my schedule, and when I will re-download it, it will remember the changes I made. By using visualization, you are not losing the detailed information. You can still have the drill downs and see the details you store in QAD. For example, you can select this work order and check what work order details, or this work order, it shows me this is in progress work order based on its color. And I can select it and see what the progress is. So I see the original quantity completed, and the components issues. I can also look at MRP messages on MRP details, or check inventory report for the selected work order item. Also, with this visualized production schedule, it is easy for me to schedule how much workers I need on each line for each shift and date. So, for example, if I have a headcount constraints, let me put for this line, let's say this line requires 2 workers, and let's say this line requires 4. I see my total headcount required. So looking at the schedule for the next week, I can also plan my headcount and submit headcount data to HR so they can plan accordingly, and there will be higher chance that I will have all the necessary resources available. I can also see potential conflicts. For example, if on the weekend I can't have this much employees at work, then again I see the that I need to change my schedule accordingly. While this example of production schedule is a sort of a true visualization, when we turn data from the table into the graph form, there are other more simple ways of visualizing that might be or will be extremely helpful. One of the examples is highlighting component shortages. For example, when checking component shortages for work orders, I can have my shortages highlighted, so I immediately see for which of the work orders in the schedule I have some component shortages, and in the shortage report details, all those shortages highlighted in red. So it immediately draws my attention to the potential problems, and I don't need to sort through all kinds of details. Another example is scheduling production capacity. So this is the calendar and shop floor maintenance tool. My goal here would be defining production lines capacity for each date and entering raw data into QAD. So I can work with graph. I cannot work with graph or charts because I need to get detailed data into QAD. But I want to still be able to quickly identify potential problems. In this case, I have crew constraint. There are more production lines than there are production crews. And due to this, I cannot have all available production lines up and running at the same time. Visual indicators for total scheduled crew size will allow me to immediately spot the potential issues. Another use of similar visual indicator I can have when maintaining repetitive schedule. Here I will immediately see when scheduled hours exceed my available capacity. You can see that data visualization is important as it saves time required for reading long reports or analyzing lots of details. Other advantages that to communicate information to others. For example, showing production schedule graph on the shop floor monitors is engaging. It allows to get the message across the business swiftly. Graphical representations of data allows to see them in a clear, cohesive, and more accessible way and comprehend information faster. It's easier to identify relationships and patterns on the graphs than in the tables. And even extensive amounts of complicated data start to make sense when presented graphically, helping to focus on the areas that require attention. Because our brain processes information presented in graphical format significantly faster as opposed to the spreadsheet tables, for example, we can come up with the right decisions quicker and address uncovered problems in a more timely manner. And depending on the tool, data visualization can be quick and easy, as you have seen on some of the examples I presented. Having all the detailed information is the huge benefit, but understanding it is what makes decision-making process fast and gives you the competitive edge. Data visualization allows you to use information you have in the most efficient manner, thus increasing productivity and profits. Now, if you have any questions.
But again, keep the questions coming and we will be sure to include them. For now, we'll go ahead and move along. Wow, my slides are actually moving along. Next month, we have Don Lindsay returning to impart more of his extraordinary wisdom with Importing Data to QAD, a SimLoad DIY guide. Also in March is the Midwest User Group Spring Conference. Ooh, spring, I like the sounds of that. So if you are attending, don't miss our case study, From Chaos to Control, How Two Companies Overcame Their Beasts. And then we do have more educational webinars lined up for the fast but not fast enough approaching spring. Don Lindsay will be our webinar presenter for both April and May. 2 more educational webinars you and your colleagues will not want to miss. Registration is open for all of our upcoming events, and as always, registration links are available at the bottom of all of our communications, including the encore that you'll be receiving early next week. And links are also available to register on our website as well. We'll go ahead and wrap up for now, and as Olena explained about visualization and the impact, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we'd like to thank everyone very much for your time today, and we do hope to see you again next month. Have a great day, everyone.